So there I was, minding my own business today, and Konami, of all companies, decides to kind of just like hard drop, stealth drop a new Yu-Gi-Oh format. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a freeform piece. I'm out trying to get a little bit more used to those, honestly. Helps me flow a little bit better, practice speaking a little bit more. So if you're looking for a concise piece, I do hear MBT Yu-Gi-Oh does have a very concise piece going into the depths of this format. Me personally, I've heard about this. I hear there's point value, so I'm already thinking Warhammer 40k. You know how like the Eldari Wraith Knight used to be like 495, and now it's like 4 whatever. And then the Sword and Board one is like 395, and Games Workshop can change it. So that's where my brain's at. And if that's the case, as somebody who has effectively 200 cards waiting to get double sleeved, katanas I found work really well for that. For Yubel, we're talking Mulch Armies, Yubel, Nightmare Thrones, etc. I'm honestly for it to have a modular format that utilizes point values, and to see if this is something Konami will stick with. So without further ado, obviously been a Yu-Gi-Oh player for a hot minute. Have reactions to it. TGS anime, love it. Tried reacting to Teen Samurai X1, Kali Effect, right? DZeef, right? There's a lot of really cool Yu-Gi-Tubers in the community. Nova Alchemy, right? But in terms of actual playability, I'm not any sort of like national qualifier, world champion by any means, right? Most of my issue comes with trying to find people to play the game with. Yeah, that's really about it. Just, Idahoisms. So, new Yu-Gi-Oh format would potentially breathe new life into the game and maybe even, get people interested in the game. What is Genesis? Genesys's rules are simple. 1. No link monsters or pendulum monsters are allowed. All other cards are allowed. The original field layout is used. No extra monster zones nor pendulum zones. Gonna be honest, super into that, actually. As somebody who went through my box recently, the amount of link monsters I have is only rivaled by fusions. I have the least amount of pendulum and synchros specifically, and ritual. I need to bulk up my Necross stuff. But links are very, very prominent in terms of at least the stuff that I own. And I could own more. I mean, I could have my full playset of Gumbler. I could have playsets of Saryuja. I mean, links are just... I think that this is a good decision. I think that they zigged when they should have zagged. I do think that when we consider links and their impact on the game, I think that, especially with link ones like Blue Eyes, right? And even Requiem, I will say on that hill that Requiem is bad for the game. I think link ones are terrible for the game. I actually am for this decision. Pendulums as well. I think that they can just flood out super hard. And this also provides a kind of balancing point as well. If Konami decides, like what was it, Rush Duels or whatever, if they make a specific Genesis product, right? Products legal in Genesis, but not necessarily legal in the TCG or OCG. So, second, the standard Forbidden and Limited list is not used. That's interesting. All those cards can be used, except Link and Pendulum monsters. Usual limit of 3 copies. Max of any card still applies. So this interests me, and I'm assuming that this is going to dive into things like Pot of Greed. Like, I look at this and immediately go, what stops something like, DZeef playing Mass Driver Frogs, right? What stops Jaugen the Spiritualist funny interaction, right, with last turn or final turn, right? What stops a card from Last Will from being used in triplicate, right? So at surface level, I do like something like this, but the it's not even necessarily the competitive side of my brain, right? The other side of my brain that looks at this goes, what stops degenerative strategies from being prominent? What stops something like, rank up Dark Galaxy Eyes, Dark Matter Dragon from just, doing things? What stops the FTKs, right? So something like this is fine. Providing players with power is fine, with the understanding that players are able to, work within those confines, and it doesn't become into a generative strategy, right? It doesn't become a tier 0 format where you play Teledad and nothing else. You play Teledad or the counter to Teledad, and you play nothing else. I'm so glad I missed Teledad format. Deck construction uses a point system. Number 3. Okay. Some cards are assigned a point value. Most cards cost 0 points. I like this. So as a Yubel player, I need to see what we're looking at with Yubel. The total point cost of cards in your main deck, extra, and side deck cannot exceed the point cap for the event. So this actually rivals 40k, and I'm actually a little curious if Games Workshop is going to get a little pissed off with this. as Games Workshop does for all intents and purposes, does get very litigious, even against, say, BattleTech creators. So it would not surprise me if another game utilizing a format in which, and the counterpoint to that is a little bit of Magic the Gathering using, ban restricted cards, using, look, at the end of the day, because it's Games Workshop has scared me off from doing any sort of Warhammer content, specifically from how litigious they are, that they've gone after YouTubers, and as well as just going through things like the Terminus Decree and making, just kind of retconning it, and me kind of being in the middle where Games Workshop says this, but the community says that. I'm really too scared to even touch this. Using a point system like this, especially in a day and age where game mechanics are being copywritten, a la Nintendo, summoning mechanics and stuff, this concerns me. However, we'll see. This probably is a nothing burger. Total point cost in your main deck side deck cannot exceed point cap for that event. So this does insinuate that there could be higher, 100 being maybe default, but you could have, your 200 point deck, your 2,000 point army, right? Your 500 point game of, 500 points of Custody, your singular Adeptus Custody, right? But you could also have, I think it's modular. And I think I like this because I think this plays into what other games like Pokemon do, where they have, regulation H, I, J, right, for VGC on ladder and stuff. So I think that this could inherently be a net positive. The standard point cap is 100. Okay, Rule 4 explains it, or I guess point 4. But events can run with any point cap or even 0 point cap. Official tournament stores can set their own caps for tournaments. So I do think that this is not necessarily cloak and dagger, but I do view this as problematic, especially because Konami in the past couple of months, as of recording this, did try to strong-arm OTS stores, did they not? They tried to strong-arm LGSs who were trying to support alternative formats like Time Wizard to potentially, allegedly, revoking their OTS status. So while Konami says one thing, their actions to me explain another, and I am a little concerned from the storefront side of thing. You, me, as players, we're not going to see a lot of this, I guarantee it. But I mean, from an OTS, LGS standpoint, I feel that this is whiplash, and I feel that I do take a little bit of issue with how flip-floppy this seems. Once again, this could just be a nothing burger. From a business integrity standpoint, this is something that I look at, though. Go here to create and print your own deck using the early access point tabulator tool, so external link. And go here to read up on strategy tips for Genesis, where and how to play and how to build a Genesis deck or modify your existing decks. So what this seems to me is that this is using is this TCG specific? Yu-Gi-Oh News, Simples, might be OCG as well. So this is just an alternative format. Alternative format, justify it, think about it in the way that you would think about it that you would in the way something like Warhammer, right? You're constructing your army. You're going to bring your fire dragons if you're playing Eldari, right? Because you just want to deal with vehicles, right? Looking just across the list, something like Artifact Scythe. Yeah, makes sense. That's already 100, especially because Scythe being a problematic card. Band played on. It's really interesting to actually see what some of these hit. Danger, I can definitely. We're going to see a lot more presence of certain archetypes on this as well. High King Wave Kaiser. If I wanted to run that in Ubel, it's going to be about 20. Yeah, look at that. Destiny Hero Plasma at 20 confuses me because I don't know anyone who's actively playing competitive Destiny Hero Plasma. DPE makes sense. Maybe that's probably why. It's because no one's playing competitive Plasma, but it's probably using a DPE interaction potentially. Maybe something like D-Force. Fire Kings. Fiber Jar being at triplicate in a format is disgusting, if I'm being completely honest. Stratos. Heroes getting hit with the Stratos at 3. That's wild to me. Arby's Feather Duster, so you could run triplicate. Feather Storm, Heart of Blue Eyes. So it seems like they're going to take cards. I would assume they're going to use something like Destiny 2, how they use usage statistics. Something like Kashtira Fenrir, pretty big. I love how a Rise Heart is 97. I don't know what algorithm they use to hit 97, but that's kind of fascinating to me, if I'm being completely honest. Jaugen the Spiritualist. So this is what pretends something like Jaugen Lock, right? This is what pretends something like last turn, final turn Jaugen, because Jaugen by itself is 100 to potentially circumvent that. So if we go to Glory of Horus at 33, Heavy Storm, I'm trying to find last turn. I think it is last turn in the TCG. Yep, last turn right there is 75. So you'd be at 175 points for a single copy of last turn, as well as a single copy of Jiaogen, last will also at 100. So it seems like this leans into a very pick and choose what you want to do. I know for me specifically, I'm definitely not getting out of this scot-free, because when we look at Nightmare Throne, as I understand this, Nibiru at 10 makes sense. Nightmare Throne is 50 apiece. So I may run 2 copies of Nightmare Throne, assuming I don't run anything else that uses points. And then I don't see anything Yubel specific in here, which is actually really interesting. Is Phantom on here? Super Poly at... Why is Super Poly at 10? That is disgusting. I'm about to break this format. Super Poly... I'm looking at a couple of these, and then I'll give my final thoughts. No, Unleaded... Solemn Warning. I need P. Ra's Disciple. So 1 point... That's a little strange to me. You get a lot of 1s, you get a lot of 7s, a lot of 3s. I almost feel this is very algorithmic in nature. Raigeki being 7, right? So you could run like 7 Raigeki and 3, rank up magic, Admiration of the Thousands, right? Like I can see some interplay here. Yeah, Phantom of Yubel is 50, and that honestly makes sense. You don't really want more than 1 copy anyways. I was a jerk and ran 3 when that was not limited. So all in all thoughts, I think that this is going to be a net positive for Konami. I do think that this has a lot of potential. I think that when we look at a list like this and see what it allows for, it does simultaneously hit some degenerative combos, meaning that the higher the point cap, obviously the more high-powered an event is going to be. The more degenerate strategies we'll see. I'm sure Firewall Dragon, if I'm being completely honest, is actually going to be on here as well. Fusion Destiny being at 33 makes a lot of sense. Staples like Foolish Burial being at 33. However, I am a little concerned because of the crackdown on alternative formats. I think Konami has harbored a lot of negative sentiment. I could see this. This has the bones of being something great. I think that this needs to be supplemental and not supplanting of the original advanced format, right? So, being able to, still play with your copies of like, Phantom of Yubel at 1, whatever the ban list currently says, Potagreed is banned and stuff like that. I think that being able to give options is great, and I think that it could pull ahead of Pokemon even in this case, because competitive Pokemon VGC is only officially recognized in doubles. We don't have a singles VGC format. So I think that if Yu-Gi-Oh uses their existing card pool and they use it to diversify official formats, I do think that this could lead to a healthy variety. However, this could also lead to a schism in the player base, and we could potentially see an autocorrect and overcorrection, right, by Konami if they deem that something like Genesys is being too... if they think something like Genesys is being detractive of their overall bottom line, right? Where we see this in media all the time. We see this with products all the time, and I think that's ambitious. I think that the bones here are good. For me personally, as somebody who, has my toolbox of 200 plus 300 cards that are double sleeved, and I kind of just whatever event I'm going to, right? The plan is to just be able to put together my deck sideboard extra, throw it in a deck box, and be ready to go. I think this is something that does speak to me personally as somebody who does have Yu-Gi-Oh product, but I do have some reservations. I do think that it is a little tone deaf when we talk about the OTS and LGS situations that have been happening. And I think that while the bones are great, I do think that we need to see what's going on. So hopefully this blind reaction to the format and some of my thoughts on this was enlightening. Hopefully it was enjoyable. I'm sorry it was late in the day. I had a 2-hour reaction that I was uploading. And kind of need to, spend some time and sit with this for a minute. I think that this is cool, but let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what strategy you're excited for, and I will see you in the next one.